Welcome on into the Between the Whistles Detroit Lions News podcast. The Detroit Lions have signed Marvin Jones, and the one thing you take away from it is it's an obvious need, wide receiver. When DJ Chark left, it left a void, and you really just bring a guy in here who is reliable. He can be counted on. This is a guy in Marvin Jones who has played 10 NFL seasons, has never fumbled a reception that he's had. It's incredible. And you talk about what Brad Holmes is doing. Brad Holmes is bringing people in that fit the culture. And it's cool because Marvin Jones came when he left Detroit. It was a way different culture than it is right now. And I can't wait for Marvin Jones to see it because some of his best years were in Detroit. I don't think people realize that Marvin Jones is the third he has the third most touchdowns by a Lions wide receiver, and the first two are Calvin and Herman Moore. I don't think people realize how good Marvin Jones was. And yes, you're getting him on the back end of his career, but the one thing I can say about Marvin Jones is it's just a quality signing that further shows that the Detroit Lions are going to compete for the division title next year and host a playoff game. You could talk about anything you want with the Detroit Lions. You know what Brad Holmes is doing is he's setting up the draft where he can make the best picks for the team to make them a better team. It doesn't matter if it's wide receiver, it doesn't matter if it's a running back, it doesn't matter if it's tight end or corner or linebacker or defensive lineman or defensive tackle. He's going to make it. And I still believe that Brad Holmes isn't done. I don't believe this is the end of what he's going to do. I think there's some definite moves that he can make, and I think those will happen at the draft. I really do think that we're not going to have all the picks that we have when we get to the draft. I think there's going to be a big trade involving the Lions, and I think Brad Holmes has set this team up to where he can go into the draft and make that trade. He did such a great job in the free agency, getting the corners, getting the quality players that he's got. Montgomery, Sutton, Gardner Johnson, Mosley, Jones. Just signing after signing, it's been A plus, A plus, A plus because they've all been relative needs. And what Brad Holmes is doing is just it's another work of art by what Brad Holmes is doing. I cannot remember a time where there's been a Lions general manager who has made this many good moves in a short amount of time. You look at his first two drafts, absolute stellar. You look at the way he handled this free agency class where, he was finally able to spend some money and they look like a real good football team and they haven't even hit the field yet. I don't think it's outside the equation to think that this team is a division champion and hosting a playoff game. And hopefully you win that playoff game. I have expectations that they're even better than that. But when you look at this Lions team, you have to be excited about what is happening in Detroit, being excited about the top 5 offense that's coming back, and seeing what the defense could potentially be with another year Hutch, with another year of Malcolm Rodriguez, Derek Barnes. You bring in Chauncey Gardner Johnson, you bring in Cameron Sutton, you bring in Mosley. This could be a team to beat in the NFC. And listen, San Francisco is the team to look at. They're kind of the team that you mirror. Great offensive line, great defensive line. It's going to be fun. I think what Brad Holmes has done is just another stellar reminder that we have a great general manager in Detroit. And I think everyone should be happy about that. We're going to have a Detroit Lions News podcast tomorrow, Thursday, and we'll post it Friday. So stay tuned to that. This is Joe Chap of Detroit Lions News Podcast, and we'll see you on the podcast or in the next video. So subscribe below for the latest Lions news.